Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to show you a basic introduction for the AutoCAD basic drawing tools. In our lecture today, it's lecture 2 in its third part. And basically we're going to go to the application menu and then start a new file. And then we're going to go and pick up AutoCAD ISO here. We need to check the units again and have a look if we want them to be millimeters or meters. Maybe we can go ahead and pick for example here meters. In here, by the way, usually we go either millimeter or meter, guys, and but other systems, imperial system, or you can use that in United States for America. You might find that lots widespread in the States, for example, which is the inch and feet, and some engineering actually fields are actually depending on inch and feet rather than the metric system. Anyway, for us in this video, we're going to go either millimeter or meter. So for now, meter, and then we go okay, and then basic tools, we basic drawing tools actually we talked about is line before. Now we need to go ahead and have a look at the circle. If you click on this drop down menu, there is actually 6 types of circle. The most famous, most used one is this one here, which is center and radius. It's basically, and as the cursor can tell you, it's telling you specify a center point. So you can click whatever you want, and then you move your hand and click freely. And I'm gonna hit space to repeat the same last command, the first center, and then whatever you want, again space, and the other way is just to say 500, for example. Be aware not to fall in the same trap that we talk about, like how we fail AutoCAD, and we usually drawing too small things or too big things. So when you move your hand, if you are intending to draw things freely or even based on some number in your brain or in a document you want to take from, again, when you move your hand and you are in your brain, you want to draw something like 0.5, have a look of the circle you are drawing, like it's like 600 meter. So if you want to make something 0.5 and you hit the space and you didn't see it, you don't need to freak out, like it's here, it's very small. Okay, and the other failure condition again is that you draw something really bigger than that the viewport can show you, and you can have a good indication or a good clue of what's going on about the scale from the blue number that you can see now. It's changing, so it's 1.2 and you give it 1 million, for example, or 100,000, and you don't see it. Yes, because it's bigger than the view. So have really a good understanding of what the scale might mess up the whole thing by drawing things too small or too big. Anyway, so again, C space circle, and then you give the dimension, and that's it. Okay, that's the basic way of drawing with the circle radius, which is center radius, one of the most famous. Yes, the hotkey is C space, if I forget to say that, to activate the circle command. The other one is the same, is center diameter, and instead of putting the center and then giving radius, you're going to put the center and give the entire diameter, and you see this dotted line tell you that whatever number you're going to give it will be an actual diameter, not the radius. 2 points. Basically, it's going to draw the start of the diameter, end of the diameter, instead of starting from the radius. So I can start from here, and then you go that way, like this. And actually, I draw the diameter, start point and end point. So this is also might be useful if you have 2 lines, maybe, and you want to draw a circle at their ends. See, that would be really great. 3 points, I think the next one, which is a circle that actually depend on the existence of 3 predefined points. So 1, 2, 3, and then you go circle, and then you touch the first point, the second point, and the third point to create the circle for you. What else? Tan radius, it's defined for you. That's the tangent, and that's the tangent, and then you give a radius of, let's say, 500. and here circle does not exist. Let's try again, and I'm going to explain that. Click here and click here, let's say I don't know, 1000. Yep, see, so that's what actually this command does. It's try to fit a circle that touch this one and touch this one with a radius of 1000. Be careful, otherwise you're gonna fall in the trap that I just have. If this dimension from here to here was around 1000, so don't expect AutoCAD can fit something here with a like 200, because the radius is too small to create a circle that touch both of them. So you're gonna end up by touching this guy in, touching here, and they say 100, for example, a radius. You can find here a warning or a message tell you that the circle does not exist. It's too small actually to exist. That's a case. And the sixth, the last one, which is tan. It's actually the ability to draw a circle that touch those three. And that might be all useful for you, especially when you work with landscape. And the landscape, you might, have the ability to touch three points here, this one and this one, or three objects here, and then you want that, and then you offset that back by a specific distance, and you make corridors or walkway between them. Anyway, that's about it for circles, which is the second command we have today. Which is the second command we explained so far in this lectures and the drawing and the basic drawing tools. We can go also with a rectangle, and it's REC basically, the shortcut for it, and then you only need to click, and then you specify, let's go 1000, and then tab, let's say 500 maybe. See, so that's the object. So again, REC, we click, and then we give it let's say 2000, tab 1000. See, again, very basic and very easy command. Ellipse here we have. You click the first click and then the second click. So the first click was for the radius, the second click for the longest diameter, and then it's gonna ask you to specify the second short. The first click was for the radius, the second click for the longest radius, and the second one here for the second shortest radius. So first center, then the first radius, the end of the radius, and then the second radius, like this. Several method, you can draw it by axis and the end, so start, end, and then the second one, or elliptical arc, which is a part of arc. An arc or a part of an elliptic object. Now arc, again, too many things. I'm gonna explain the most common use, those two things. If you hit just a space, I think ellipse is EL actually the shortcut here. Center, first radius, second radius. Arc is a space, and it's basically gonna define for you an arc based on clicking on the start point, second point, end point. That's the default one because it's this guy, 3.1. This will be useful, so let's have something like that. So you say a space, you start 1, 2, 3, from the left to the right side, or from top to down, whatever you want to call it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, from down to up. So clockwise or counterclockwise, it's gonna work perfectly. But sometimes, and I'm gonna hit F8 here, let's go 1000. I'm assuming it's millimeter. I know I picked meters in the beginning anyway. So sometimes you need to use this guy, start, center, radius, because if you don't, you're gonna end up by having a big mess with this guy. This guy, the 3 point, doesn't sense the center point. So if you're gonna go start, and then you have F8, let me turn off F8, and then you say somewhere here, and then that's my second point. Like it's gonna be That's the center far away from that, or you're going to end up by having something like that, which is also ugly enough, you know. So the 3 points arc is not really your friend here, so you need this one, start, center, end. So I'll go start here, and then that's the center, and you know, like that's your end. And I move that, and you get your first door that's might fit in 1 to 200 scale without any detail, just a line and a curve. Okay, so some people actually prefer the old school method in A as a general arc command, and when they start up from here, they you know, if you click now, it's waiting for the second point. They just go ahead and say C space to identify or to tell AutoCAD you're going to give center, and you give here center and you go that way. And just to use A as a command without going here and picking, you know, the right sequence for the arc ingredients. The thing in this command that you may, or actually you must, work counterclock. So I start up from here, and that's the center, so the arc will be built, you know, counterclock. If I go starting from here, and that's my center, and then going that way, now we're going to have this Pac-Man shape, you know, and that we really doesn't, we didn't want that. So you need to go ahead and, you know, start and then center, and oops. Now look, when I activated the previous command, it gave me A, which is, you know, this one. So probably I should have clicked from the tool here, this one, and then this one here, and then this, and you have, you know, to delete the rest of the lines or geometry that you don't want. So that's basically it for what we're gonna have for this drawing tools that we just experience. And now we can simply go and, you know, let's have this first exercise that we can do it together now. And basically it's a rectangle with 800 by 500. Circle has been identified that to have the center of the rectangle, so it's center in the middle of that rectangle, I mean, midpoint of that line specifically. But the height, you know, the location of the center and the Y, it's not being given to us, and that will actually have to be assumed by us to be in the center. And that's right, because as long as you see something like that and it isn't been provided for you as a document, so you have to go ahead and assume it rather than stop doing it. Same thing here, that's the saying that the circle goes from the center to the edge of this rectangle 100. It isn't mentioned here, so this dimension goes for all of them. Same here, same for the radius, you give it once, and it should be, you know, the same concept. Get to be used for this habit. Like usually when you work with architectural people, architectural offices or any architects, you know, they're not going to give you the diameter or the radius for all circle that they intend to make them the same. They're just going to give you one, you know, while this guy is a big one. It's the only unique one and different. That's why it's actually being given to you. So let's start by doing that. It's just a rectangle, 500 by 800, circle of a 200 in the middle. Let's do that so far. Okay, so back to our work here. So I'm going to go REC, and then I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say 800, and then tab 500. So that's the first job done. It's really easy. Now I go line, you know, I'm gonna start, or depending on the endpoint here, because yet I didn't explain for you the midpoint to start up from, I can draw a 400 millimeter line, which is, or 400 meter line, and to reach the middle, and then I go up to draw 250 to reach the center of that object. Lots of other methods can use, you know, like click here and click here and then use the midpoint of it, but I didn't again explain the midpoint as snap or object snap. That I will explain very soon in the incoming lectures. Now you go ahead, circle, and you know, like 250. Oops, I think it's 200. Yeah, 200. So I select it and hit delete. Circle again, so it's 200. Now those are 50 radius, 100 unit away or 100 meter away from the edges. It's okay. Now again, we're gonna use those construction lines. See, that's, I click here, I move my hand that way, and I say 100, and then I move my hand up. I can go, you know, F8 maybe to ease my pain, and I go 100 up, and then circle of 50 radius. Then you can repeat this again. It's 100 and then down 100 and then a circle of 50, and the same thing to be repeated in all sides. This exercise shouldn't take more than like 1 or 2 minutes from your time, and after you finish, it's a good idea to select, delete, and all the objects that you know those I call them construction lines, because you actually build them just for the sake of doing this job, and then you need to get rid of them. Now there will be now 1 line, 2 line, 3 here, 4, 5. If you hover above or put the mouse above them, you can see, you know, like it's been highlighted for you. Click and delete again, click and delete, click and delete, or can use window for it like this. When you go from the left to the right and then from the left to the right, it won't affect or select the big one because it have to be contained all inside. That's our first or actually that's the second exercise I think we've done. We've done the angle one before. So let's say that's our first exercise for this lecture, or this part of lecture today. We can go ahead and have another example, which is this one, the Mercedes-Benz one. It might be looks in the beginning a little bit scary, but it's okay, especially if you notice there is no dimension that I added. So you can go ahead and assume, as long as there is no dimension, you can go ahead and assume your own dimension. But the idea, you have to be really sure not to assume that this is a circle, of course, and there is a 3 sides or 3 angles. So this should be divided, the degree of the circle should be divided on 3, and it's a 360. Of course, you divide it on 3, so you have 120, 120, and 120 in this side. So how we actually manage this is by basically start drawing either the circle or the first line. If you draw the circle in the beginning and you don't have, you know, the object snap on setting, now I have it on, so when I jump here and you can see it, then the object snap again is a nice modification tool that, or guiding tool, that can help you to sense the geometrical center point or end point of geometrical parts of any object. If you don't have this on, you're going to end up having this very painful result by, you know, not being able to draw the line based on the circle. So it would be a good idea if you draw things you have, and you know that we have endpoint activated. So I'm going to draw the line, go up 1000. You know, now I can go ahead and draw the circle like this, and maybe I can draw a bigger circle like that, even without looking at the dimension, because it's not been given to us. So if I have this 1000, let's make something more accurate. Let's say 1050. Too much, too few. 1100. Okay, so it's 100 mil distance from the both. Okay, now we need to draw a line 120 degree from that line. So this is a 90 degree, right? So if this is let's say that's our 90 degree from here to here, and we need from here to here 120, so the remaining is 30, right? So you're gonna go here and you go relative, it's 1000 with an angle of minus 30, because it goes down. If you go positive 30, it's gonna go that way. The same idea will goes if you draw the line that way. So if this is a 90 degree and 120 to here, so you have to add 30 to this guy. Don't forget, this guy always measured from the east. So from here to here 90, from here to here 90, which will be 180. So you need another 30, so technically it should be the angle 210. So as you said, relative 1000 with an angle of 210. Later on, you're going to use the command mirror to do this. You know, you draw one line and the mirror is that way. Now the other way, the other angle is here, and you go like a 200 mil, or let's say 100 mil down, and then you need to identify this guy and this guy. You know, like the same thing here. This thing, three lines. So what you're gonna do is, again, that's a 90 and you needed 120, so it should be 30. So let's say relative, it's 100 with an angle of 30. Same thing here, and it's from the beginning to the end 180. Should minus 30 to make it this, because this is 90 minus 30, sorry, from here to here 90, and another 30 to be how much exactly? 120. So that's from this point to this point. So we have to take from this guy, which is 180, we have to subtract 30 out of it. So it will be technically 150. Draw that maybe in a piece of paper if you feel not really confident yet about it. See? So always try to, assume how much is this, 120, and that's the horizontal line, so the remaining is not 30 to the lower side of the east. Same thing here, that's minus 90 actually, and that's to the east, so it's 90 degrees that way, so you needed to make it 120, so the remaining is 30. That's the way it is, and the rest is just a line following the endpoints as such. That's basically it. And try to be a little bit patient when you don't have the dimension. I prepared this on purpose because it doesn't have any dimension, and that might freak out the student in the exam when they see a geometry that they don't have. Even this step that we've done have less dimension actually than the normal thing. It doesn't have all the dimension mentioned. I do that on purpose, so I get you prepared to a more realistic condition where not all the dimension has been described for you, and you have to figure that out in order to keep working, not to stop. Anyway, I wish that you find this tutorial or video actually useful. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye bye.